Welcome back to the Baseball Blue Book Podcast, where we focus on the journey, not the destination. Brought to you by the Baseball Blue Book app. Are you in the book? And now, your host, Eric Wobanaw. Welcome back to the Baseball Blue Book Podcast. My name is Eric Wobanaw, the president of the Baseball Blue Book. Today, excited to have Coach David Wood with us from the University of St. Thomas down in Houston, Texas. David, how are you today?
I'm doing awesome, Eric. Thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure.
Hey, I appreciate you joining us. It's always a lot of fun. I'm starting to branch out a little bit out of the Northeast. I got kind of stuck there because you get one coach and then you get another coach to recommend and then another coach. So it's good to be kind of in the Midwest, the South. Certainly baseball is big everywhere, but I think one of the benefits is you guys are really ready to start going. I mean, the weather's ready and you don't have to worry about the snow. We're only a few days away.
We're we open up next weekend, so we got 2 weeks of preparation, and hopefully in Brownwood, Texas, it can get a little cold up there, but hopefully it's good enough to get out there and strap it up.
That's awesome. Well, hey, before we begin, I want to make sure that everybody subscribes to the channel. It helps us out. It actually gets the message out to more people like you. So share the channel and like and comment. Always enjoy hearing people. It's mostly alumni of coaches, which is always great. I love to read the comments, always good comments. And so I encourage everybody to do that. So make sure you subscribe. So Coach Wood, we're as we do with all the podcasts, we kind of start with your journey. This episode is about you. It's about you and your program and what makes you unique and the experiences that you bring. So why don't you go ahead and start with kind of the beginning, where it all started from a baseball perspective, and then when it kind of made that transition over to the world of coaching.
Yeah, so born and raised from Long Island, New York. Played at Longwood High School in Middle Island. John DeViti was my head coach. He was awesome, taught me a lot about the game, taught me how to love the game. Signed at Stony Brook University out of high school. Had a lot of other good opportunities. For some reason in my head, I wanted to stay close to home. Wasn't necessarily the worst thing in the world, but it definitely didn't allow me to really become independent. I was still very dependent on my home lifestyle, and it was too close to my high school buddies. Yeah. Spent 2 years there. My father moved down to Texas to start building homes. When I needed to make a move, told him to start looking into some junior colleges because that had to be the route that I needed to go once I left Stony Brook. Coach McMurtry at Temple College gave me a shot at a tryout. Literally drove from New York to Temple, Texas, made a stop in Nashville, pulled up to Temple, tried out, got a small scholarship offer to join in January of 2005. Spent 1 full year there because I needed to get my associate's degree to go back to 4-year. So transferred to Texas State in January of 2006. Finished up 2 years there under Coach Ty Harrington, Howard Bouchon, John Maley was our pitching coach. We had some good teams, really close to making regionals. Paul Goldschmidt was a freshman in my senior year, so that was that was a lot of fun seeing his journey and where he is now and becoming an MVP. And from there, 2007 had the opportunity to get picked up and play a little professional baseball within the Royals organization, and moved around a lot, up and down with some demotions and some promotions. And after 3 years, figured out that coaching was kind of the niche that I was looking for, and that was my calling. Not that I didn't want to keep playing, but coaching, I got a taste for it with some select ball stuff in that off season, and also wanted to start a family. We were kind of inching towards our first kid, wanting to buy a home with my wife. So we did that and finished up my degree. Got a job in 2011 with St. Edward's University. spent 10 years there under Coach Rob Penders. Amazing run. We made it to the World Series in 2013, awesome. 7 straight regionals, ton of success, ton of draft picks. I think 10 guys drafted in our time out of Division II. That's awesome. One guy made it up to AAA. We had a National Player of the Year, Brandon Easterling, who was an absolute monster for us. Big time arm, huge competitive juices. And after 10 years, just looked, I wanted to run a program and see if I could do it myself. And the coaching staff that was previously that started St. Thomas, Clayton Vanderlaan and Tyler Bremer, they moved over to Houston Christian with Lance Berkman. It opened up St. Thomas, and I went all in on it and was led to make a run at it. My head basketball coach at St. Edward's actually knows the AD at St. Thomas extremely well. He was a huge help. Got me in the door. Tyler Bremer also put in a good word for me, the former assistant there. And fast forward a year and a half.
Here you are.
Ready to
that's
rock.
Awesome. That's quite the journey. I want to take all the way back to I think you had said staying local versus moving away, and you needed it, but you also didn't need to. And one of the things I love about the episodes is really kind of getting in the heads of the coaches, because kids that you guys are recruiting are going through the same thing. And it's always great for them to hear kind of personal stories that, hey, we went through the same thing, right, as you guys. And there's good decisions, there's bad decisions, there's reasons why you do certain things. Talk a little bit about that. What you'd specifically said, man, I was still close, kind of hanging out with my high school buddies, but I needed to get away. What was good about staying local, and what was how did you know that it was time to find another place to play?
The good part about staying local was you're familiar with the area, right? So when the move wasn't shocking. Like I didn't have to get used to a new culture or anything. Like I knew what to expect. Another great part about Stony Brook was it gave me the opportunity to come in and compete as a freshman. I did that. I did have some success as a freshman. The bad part for me in terms of being too close to home was that I just didn't focus in the classroom like I needed to. I tried to get away with stuff. I wasn't mature. And I became ineligible and I tell my guys this all the time, like, I can be your best teacher in terms of what to do and what not to do. And I'm never going to run from that stuff, because I'm just not going to fluff them. I'm going to tell them exactly who I am, be very transparent with my guys, tell them that I make mistakes just like them. But in order for me to have the opportunity to finish playing and get my degree, I had to go somewhere completely different and just start fresh, wipe the slate clean, and go from there. And Texas did that.
I think that's a really good story, because, at times when people, when kids aren't necessarily mature enough or ready, a lot of times people recommend maybe stay closer to home. But yet there's certain people that may not be the right thing, because there is a lot to be said about the maturity of when you leave and when you have to do it on your own, when you have to figure it out yourself. And I think that's great hearing that from you, Coach, to kind of recognize that. Some hard lessons, obviously being ineligible. You bring up stories in my past. I remember my sophomore year, man, I had the worst semester. I think I withdrew, failed almost every class. And it was one of those wake up calls for life, right? To say, I can't just breeze through this and have fun anymore. It's getting serious. So I appreciate you sharing that story with us. So moving down to Texas, followed your dad down there. I think that's pretty awesome. Great time to start building homes. And so you're now playing at the school down there. You had to get your degree to go to a 4-year. Talk about kind of the setup there. What does that actually mean for those that might not understand why you had to go certain places?
Yeah, so where I was eligibility-wise at Stony Brook, the only way for me to transfer and play somewhere was to go junior college, and I was okay with it. I mean, I wanted to get back on the field. And I had a good enough GPA to do that. I did not have enough GPA to transfer to a 4-year. And so did that, worked on my grades. I couldn't get my associates in just that one spring that I was there. So I needed to return there in the fall. When you go from a 4-year school to a 2-year school, the golden ticket back into 4-year, and the rules have changed a lot since when I was playing, but the golden ticket is still the same. If you have your associates, you're going to be able to play at that 4-year. And the other part of it is to go D1, not only the associates, but you had to have 60% of your degree complete with that associates. And we were able to find a degree that actually matched up with the path that I took to have that 60 degrees and be eligible to play, the 60% towards my degree to be eligible to play. But it's definitely not a road that I would recommend, right? I mean, it's doable, but it happens, and that's okay. And I tell my guys, like, you're going to learn lessons along the way. You don't know how or when. Some of them are going to be harder than others. Some of them you may never run into that serious of a struggle. And that's great. I mean, that's obviously the ideal path, but we want to be there for those struggles, right? And hopefully limit the severity of them as best we can. And for me, going through as hard as I did, it's really allowed me to become a way better coach and a way better mentor for these players.
That's good. So, life can be forgiving if you're willing to work hard. I always say that. You know, it's life can be very, very difficult if you're not willing to work hard. That's the opposite of that. So I think you share that very well in your story. All right, so jump ahead. You're now at St. Thomas. 51 years. I looked it up. 51-year hiatus from baseball. So bringing it back, that's a big difference. I've talked to a number of coaches that new programs and also kind of new head coach. And really the first year, you've been doing this for a while. Talk about the transition, not only to running your own program. You had said, hey, I want to try this, see if I can do it. But also doing that in a new setting with, there's not a culture, there's not tradition, there's not those goals, or there's not the trophies that may be sitting on the shelves. Talk about kind of that transition and what it took for you to kind of get to where you are now.
Yeah, I mean, the draw was, outside looking in, it's like, oh, this is a brand new program. We're going to have a chance to make noise and get it going. And once I got in here, there's a lot of things here that if you're not willing to keep a positive mindset, then it's hard, because like, we're a school in the middle of downtown Houston, beautiful campus, beautiful setup. No home field. We do not have a home field. So they started a program, and we are renting fields for home games. We're renting fields for practice. So that is a serious hurdle. And I knew it coming in, but it kind of hits you in the mouth a little bit. Schools and basically beg to come play when they're off on weekends and all the logistics of it. But that being said, Houston is an amazing setting for a Division III university. I mean, the hotbed of talent that gets overlooked here is unbelievable. I mean, I had recruited Houston when I was at St. Ed's, but to be in it and live in it and just see the amount of kids that are here, I mean, 80%, well, more than that, 90% of our roster is Houston area kids. And I say Houston area, like all the surrounding areas, like Cypress, Tomball, going south into like the Clear Springs areas and Pearland and like all the surrounding areas, they're all considered Houston kids. And it's just, we have the ability to formulate, hopefully, eventually a national program that is of all kids from a certain little area.
That's awesome.
We have a couple New York kids and believe it or not, a couple kids from Uganda and then a kid from Dubai. But, we're just so unique, man. I think that Houston, like I said, I think Houston's the perfect spot for it. And there was so much drawing me into it. To be honest, I never thought I'd be a Houston guy ever. I love Central Texas. We lived in Round Rock, an amazing city for us. But then when we got down here, we live north side of Houston in Spring, kind of by the Scorpions organization that, Tanner Lawson, you had him on. Yeah. But so we're very close to them, and it's something that I plan on being here for a minute and trying to really. I told my guys the other day, this group has a chance to be the table setter for for the whole program moving forward. I mean, we get to set the standard.
Yeah.
And in our first year, we were blessed to sneak into that fourth, conference tournament spot, which was amazing, with a team that had no clue really how to win, and it wasn't any of their own fault.
Right.
But when you have a brand new program, you're going to go through your lumps. And so they got smacked around a little bit the first couple of years, but, all we did was try and get a good group of kids together, which they were, and just teach them how to fight.
Yeah.
And teach them what, never going away looks like, and just fight until the last pitch. And, when you see the success we were able to have in year one, it starts to get really exciting about what we can do moving forward.
I'm sure that's got to be exciting. I mean, you can tell it on your face, the excitement of what you're doing, but to be able to kind of implement your own culture, your own ideas, and to see success, that's got to be certainly back to your comment of, hey, I want to try to see if I can run a program. I'm sure it kind of eliminated any of the doubts that you might have had, just to have, and even if it's not the win-loss, it's the what you're seeing in the development of the kids, right? I hear that all of the time. Wins or losses, man, are what it's all about, but that's not what we view as success for the program. So that kind of goes into that question. What do you see as success for your program? Not only making to regionals, not making it to, in the winning, but how do you view success for your program?
I'm trying to get kids graduated. I want them to, yes, look, any coach that comes on here and says, oh, it's not about the winning, that's a crock. I mean, we're trying to win championships, right? I mean, so that's always a given. In a competitive environment, I'm not going to come on here and be like, oh, we're just we hope to keep up and this. No, we're trying to win, straight up. But that being said, my job is to hopefully formulate strong young men that can go into the real world, get a good job, find a wife, have a family. Yeah. I mean, do all the things that I was able to do, and hopefully get a much better paying job than I have, because gosh dang it, college baseball coaches, they, it is what it is. It's a grind. We don't get paid. We do this for the passion and the love of the game. Yeah. And I wouldn't change it for the world, but I want to see all these guys that want to come in and be an engineer and play baseball. I want to help them do that. Guys that want to go in these, we got nursing program guys, we got guys in biology majors, physics majors, just to help them along the way. They don't come to me and ask me questions about their classes because I won't answer any of those questions. But just helping them get to that degree, making it a place where they love showing up every day. Yeah. I'm very big on that. I never want them to feel like a burden on them, or they're not enjoying it. And look, I hold them accountable. We expect a certain thing from them on a daily basis, but I mean, it's still baseball and it's still fun. If you would watch us warm up, we do things a little bit outside the box in terms of how we do things, but I want to keep this thing fun for them. I want them to wear that UST with pride and remember this as a brotherhood for the rest of their life. And because that's really what it's about. I mean, it's the memories that you instill in these guys that, hopefully 20 years down the road, when they look back on it, they're like, look, man, yeah, we won this, we did that, but I'm still talking to these guys that I play with 20 years later, and we still go on golf trips and get together for Super Bowls, whatever it is, man. I mean, there's a million different things, but that's what I want for these guys. So that's what we try to provide.
It's quite the balance, right? I mean, you've got kids that are probably any kid that plays collegiate baseball, they're top tier, and don't anybody think that D3, D1, JUCO, these guys, you guys are good players. If you're able to make collegiate ball, you're one of those guys that have always been a baller throughout your life. The balance of getting them from that baseball focus to an academic with baseball as a tool to get them to that academic. What are some of the things that you kind of have learned through your career, instill in them to really understand? Because again, high school for these smart guys, probably pretty easy, right? Baseball was their focus. The grades were easy. You hit college everything changes, man. All of a sudden it's a lot more difficult. The classes are more difficult. They've got to figure out what they want to do in life. What are some of the things that you do and instill in them to help them understand the academic focus and the importance of it?
What we try to do is just set them up for success in terms of that transition. Simple things. We will do study hall for our guys. All new guys come into our program and must do study hall, no matter what your GPA was, where you came from. I don't care. I don't care if you're a valedictorian of your high school.
That's good.
You're doing study
That's
hall.
Good.
Just to learn study habits. And it's not an overwhelming amount of time. I know, like, I've heard deep programs do up to 8 hours a week. You know, we do 3 hours a week just because of the demand of schedules. And we want to also give them some freedom to learn and grow on their own, right? But we will do that. Every Sunday night, they have to turn in a grade check for each class, just so that they're not only hopefully giving us the information on how their classes are going and being honest in that assessment, but also just staying on top of their studies. So what that is like each class, they're going to turn in what the actual grade is. They're going to tell us what assignments are coming up, what assignments they've turned in, how many absences they have. I want them to be able to feel comfortable telling me that they've missed a class. Believe it or not, like, you know, we say you have to go to class. If you don't go to class, you're going to be punished, this and that. Well, I want my guys to understand that if they can feel confident enough to come in and be like, Coach, I screwed up, I missed class. Well, yes, there may be something on the line that you have to do for me, but it's going to be way worse than me hearing from a professor that you're missing class repeatedly. So having them feel comfortable with the screw up, with saying, all right, well, Coach, I messed up. I'm here to tell you about it, right? And then, you know, the other thing that we do is just periodic check-ins, man. Every couple of weeks, we'll, you know, and it may be every month, you know, it just depends on what we're feeling like. Bring the guys in and randomly just say, how you doing? Yeah. Like, how's everything going? And the other thing is, if we see a grade check that's alarming, then we know we're bringing them in. Like, we see a couple season Ds on there. It's like, look, man, what can we do to help? You know, is there a tutor that we can get you hooked up with? Do we need to, you know, get you to the writing center to work on your papers, whatever it is. But I think those grade checks are huge. And also, we just talk about routines daily. Like, I'm growing more and more in that myself, on just having consistent routines and living in the moment, instead of trying to get your grade right now or win or hit 300 now. We're trying to be in the moment and win the day only, right? And if our guys can not worry about all the other factors and just stay here and now, it's going to put them at ease a little bit and allow them to breathe and relax and learn. So I think those are just some of the.
No, I think that's great. I always love the baseball analogies to life are endless, right? And you know, you talk about winning the day. I always think of it as winning the pitch. You know, down to the things that you can control at this particular time. Don't try to make everything happen, you know, all at once. And baseball is the perfect analogy of that. You can't all of a sudden go 0 for 10 and then all of a sudden, you know, 10 for 10. It doesn't work that way. You're going at it at each at bat. No, I think that's fantastic. And I think the other thing that, Coach, you talked about is, you know, some people might hear what you're saying of, oh man, that's a lot of people that are kind of, you know, looking at me and there's kind of a lot of responsibility as far as, you know, reporting different things. I think the way you're coming at it is it's developing accountability. It's part of the learning of the college, you know, experience, right? And I see so many kids that go into college without that, and they get lost. College is not easy. Baseball brings kind of those boundaries, some areas that you can continue to grow, but also, you know, find yourself in a situation that helps you, you know, grow as a young man. So I appreciate you, again, sharing with that. I always love hearing coaches kind of what they do and what they focus on. And the time management is one of the things that you brought up. That's certainly something that is a very required as you continue to grow. Talk about, you said it's downtown Houston, beautiful setting, but you don't have your own home field. Talk about the benefits. What is St. Thomas? What makes it unique? What makes this program a success, and why should kids put it top of their list to at least take a look at and come check you out?
So just being Houston, being the I want to say the third largest city in the country.
I think so.
I mean,
yep.
that itself is a huge draw. I mean, your college experience is going to be awesome in terms of just that setting itself. We're a mile north of Rice. We're 3 miles west of University of Houston. So like the amount of college kids in the area is amazing. It's a brand new program, so you get to make your mark. I think that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
And I think that the coaching staff that I'm surrounded with, I mean, they are second to none. I got 4 guys under me: Torrey Peterson, Dakota Kaufman, Ty Cook, and Bo O'Hara. All young, fiery. They love the game. I mean, they keep me young. I can tell you that. I mean, it's constant banter amongst us.
Awesome.
We're always trying to figure out what's going to be next, and then in terms of we don't have a home field. That's the biggest. When I have kids sit down in our office, it's like, well, where do we play games? All right, well, we're playing 8 games at Sugarland, the Space Cowboys, AAA ballpark. We're playing 6 games at Rice University. We're playing 4 games at Houston Christian. So like the venues that we get to play at, I mean, crap. I mean, they're some of the best in the area.
Yeah.
So, and what's awesome is our school understands the difficulties of not having a field, so they're willing to allow us to go rent these places out and make it a great experience for our players. We have a turf facility that we use for practice where you're never going to get washed out. I mean, today it's just cold and rainy, so we wanted to give those guys a day off today. But we practice it. It's a place called Spring Spirit, about 25 minutes from campus. All turf facility. They're an outreach program for the community there. And so we get to practice there during the days, and we get out of there right before all their evening baseball stuff starts with the surrounding communities. So it's just it's a unique, one of the more unique settings that you would be in. With so many more pros than there are cons.
Well, I would imagine that it actually makes you feel probably more part of the community. Right. So because you're not just kind of right in one place at all times, you're able to kind of branch out. Other people see who you are, kind of, more of a missionary for the school with being in all those other locations. Right.
Absolutely. I mean, we've done crazy things in our year and a half here in terms of just getting out there. We help with Spring Spirit and some of their baseball stuff and volunteer with them. We were the stage crew for the Astros World Series. When they won the series, our guys were the guys pushing out the stage.
Awesome.
So there's just cool things that you get to do in this type of city with all the major sports here and stuff. And it's just unforgettable moments for these guys that, again, like I said earlier, man, they're just going to be able to take it home with them and never give it up. It's just going to be the stories for the grandkids one day. Right. So
that's great.
Not many people get to say they got to push out the stage for the Astros World Series, and we actually did it last year or 2 years ago when the Braves won it in Minute Maid. We got to push the stage out for the Braves,
awesome.
Which wasn't as exciting, obviously, but still a great experience.
Oh, that's fantastic. Certainly, just to have the games right there for them to go and attend and just the experience. I think that's fantastic. So you talked about a little bit about the program, nursing, engineering, some biology. Is that really kind of medical? Is that really plus? It sounds like the high science type degrees is what St. Thomas is known for.
Yeah, and so the reason I mentioned those kind of 3 were just from the demands of class and stuff because there's such a higher demand. But yes, so I mean we have everything almost. I say we're a liberal arts school in terms of like the amount of degrees we offer, but business is really strong. Anything finance, marketing, computer science.
Okay.
The only thing like we don't have, which is in the works of becoming. It's going to be a new program here soon is kinesiology, which is one that seems like every school has, right? But we just don't yet. And we're working on those details. The athletic training department is going to kind of head that up. So we're looking forward to getting that eventually. But engineering is a huge draw in Houston with all the oil and stuff like that here. Awesome. So, I mean, you have a little bit of something for everybody, which I love. And, I think that the academic strength of the school is getting it better and better because there's more and more attention coming to the school. There for a time after COVID, we just needed bodies in the door,
right?
Like a lot of schools.
Yep.
So, the academic standards had to come down a little bit to, when tuition is what keeps doors open in private universities, there has to be a little give and take to make it happen. But as we continue to grow and strengthen, our president does a phenomenal job. And he has been here for now 5 years, I guess. So I guess right before COVID or right at COVID is when he got here. He's turned the whole school around. And so with his guidance, we're going to continue to grow. We're building more dorms because we're having more demand. We had our biggest freshman class in the school's history last year or this fall. Wow. So, the growth is there. And like I said, no better draw than Houston.
No, that's fantastic. What's the size of the school?
So we're overall with undergrad and graduate students, we're about 5,200.
Okay. That's a good size.
With undergrad, we're going about 1,900. So we have good graduate programs as well, which, help with all the, all those tuition dollars that you need. But we're building more dorms because we're having a lot more demand for kids staying on campus now, which is awesome.
Yeah. There's always something special about being on campus. I mean, it really is. And being the baseball program and keeping everybody there, I think that's great. What Coach, what type of kid are you looking for?
Obviously, we'd all love the 6'2", 210-pound, can bop it all over the yard guy. I mean, look, we're looking for we can talk about this for hours on end, but, we're looking for guys that like to compete. And I think that word is, everybody thinks that they know how to compete, right? I mean, yep. If you're playing any kind of sport, but it's just the intangible part of that piece, like not only competing for yourself, but how are you competing for the guy next to you and the guy in the, even across the way, like how are you going up against that guy and trying to outwork him and outshine him in those settings where you're trying to be recruited, right? Because at our level, we're going after guys that can play JUCO ball, D2 ball, even some guys that we've lost to small D1s. But at the end of the day, those guys are going to win those battles, right? So we have to continue to work hard to find the intangible guy. Like, right. Our center fielder is 5'6". He'll actually be mixing up in left field a little bit this year, but he's 5'6". He is itty bitty, but he plays with his tail on fire all the time, and he's had to do that in order to be successful. Plus runner, gap to gap guy, good arm, awesome. But like those, and I'm not going to have a whole roster of little guys, but those guys are going to fit well in our program. They're going to complement some of those stronger guys we get. The first question we're always going to ask is like, what are your grades, right? I mean, you have to be able to get into school, but it's not just scraping into school. Like I'd love to see guys with strong GPAs, good test scores. But at the end of the day, tools, like some tools. Give me 2 to 3 tools. If you have 2 to 3 tools and one intangible tool, one of those unwritten ones, then you're going to be really good in our program. But with Houston being such a hotbed, we keep getting guys coming across our table or our email that are getting no love, and they look pretty stinking good, man. So we're getting a lot of commitments.
Do you think, I wanted to ask this earlier because you had said that. Do you think that's lack of schools, baseball programs down there? Because you're right. Houston's number 3 in the country, and there's not a whole lot of baseball programs from comparatively speaking. I mean, there's certain places in the country that you can go and every other block there's a university with a baseball program. I mean, certainly in the Northeast. What do you is that what you think? Is it just there's a lot of good baseball and less programs that are competing for the guys, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a little bit of that. I mean, it's the amount of schools in the area. I mean, we got, you have Prairie View A&M, U of H, Rice, Texas Southern, Houston Christian. You have 5 Division I's in the greater Houston area, right? You have a ton of JUCOs. You got Wharton College, Alvin College, San Jack, National Powerhouse. They whooped up on us last week, by the way, hard. We played them in a scrimmage. But and then you have Blinn, which is just up the road. Like, so I think there's plenty of schools but it can't keep up with the amount of kids that are here.
Okay.
And I think the other part of this thing too is there are like 7,000, and that's an exaggeration, but there's like 1 million select teams down here now in Houston. There and so many of them. So the talent gets spread pretty thin now in the select ball world with how many teams there are, right? Mm-hmm. So they're not always going to play in the better tournaments necessarily. Kids develop differently at different ages. I think with the amount of technology out there now and resources for kids to get better, that there's just deeper talent pools. And with the amount of teams and that deeper talent pool, you got to work really hard to go find it.
Right.
Some coaches stay in their lane and whatever comes easy to them, then that's how they recruit. They do that. We're just willing to go. We're going to go watch that team that you never heard of and go see what they got. I mean, the diamond in the rough is big for us. We just committed a kid from a 6A high school. He was all-state catcher and had no place to go. Just diamonds in the rough like that. And he's not even a diamond in the rough. He's he's an all-state guy to just, for whatever reason, uncommitted. And I think COVID's hurt with that. I think the transfer portal's hurt with that a little bit too. It's just that there's so many different factors now to why kids aren't committed yet.
We could have episode after episode on theories behind it, because it's the talent. I think I've done 100 of these, and the coaches. One thing that's consistent is the talent level continues to get better, but it also, there's such movement too, right? There's so much movement from over-promising at one place, and then the movement happens, and then all of a sudden all these. I've talked to JUCO coaches that they have 5 or 6 D1 guys, transferred guys that are on their roster now. That's tough to compete with, right? There's a lot of D1 talent and not enough D1 schools to go around. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I don't have the answer, but it's fun to kind of speculate and figure it out. But it also makes the competition. I mean, you're competing with these guys, especially when it's a localized and you're really getting a lot of your players from there. Do you see that you're competing with that, or do you, like you said, there's just so much talent down here, we kind of, as long as we're doing our due diligence and doing our thing and getting out there, we're getting the guys that we want?
Yeah, I mean, because I would say if there was a Division II in Houston, that we would be having a lot more like head-to-head recruiting battles. Yep. Like I said, we've talked to a few that have gone D1, but those conversations are pretty short, I would say, because, once you talk to them and feel them out and start asking them who's in the mix, if they start firing off some D1s at me, I'm still going to get the kid on a visit and try to spin my spiel. But when you have scholarship money versus no scholarship money, the conversation can become pretty short, right? And rightfully so. Yep. I mean, look, if I was talking to, when I was at Temple, I was talking to Texas State, and at the time Incarnate Word was Division II. It wasn't anything against Incarnate Word. They offered me as much money as they could at the time as Division II, but my mind was like, I'm going D1. Yeah. And look, I respect the heck out of that. So I think that we battle more with, now that we're in Houston, because like other schools in our conference, Trinity University, Texas Lutheran, Southwestern University, they come to Houston. They want to come get their guys, and take them over to their schools who we're competing against year in and year out. Now our job is to get them the heck out of Houston and let's keep these guys home. And it's a challenge, man, because all three of those programs and the other programs in our conference are all competitive. Centenary out of Louisiana, they come down and recruit Houston. So, because why wouldn't you, right? I mean, with the amount of talent. Yep. But our goal is to make them see how much cooler it is to play close to home. And I think that this generation of kid likes being closer to home. Yeah. I really do. I think that there's a lot more family dynamic. I think that where they are in terms of comfort with all the COVID stuff and the maturity levels and stuff, I think that it's good for them to be close to home in a lot of cases. So we try to do that, try to make it a good option for them.
No, yeah. I would. That's a great topic to even talk about at another time, because I agree with you. I don't know if it has to do with the travel ball elite programs. I mean, there's a lot more family aspect to that, right, than there was maybe back when you and I were playing. I played a lot of high school ball and a lot of Legion ball. There wasn't a lot of traveling with my family, and so I was ready to leave because that's what I was used to. So I don't know if that has something to do with it, but Coach, this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you joining us today. A lot of great information. I think exciting to watch your excitement. That's one of my favorite part of this whole thing is seeing what you guys are doing, what your motivation is, how you kind of get the best out of these kids, what drives you guys, and that's really what we're looking to hear. And we're always excited to share this with everybody out there. And certainly, David, it sounds like you're open to anybody from anywhere, but the competition level down in Houston is pretty high, and so I recommend anybody to check out University of St. Thomas, take a look at the program, and Coach Wood, I appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, Eric, I really appreciate it, man. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you and getting the good name of St. Thomas out there.
Absolutely. Sounds good. Well, Coach, you have a great day. Good luck with this season.
I appreciate it, Eric. Thank you so much.
Thanks.